What up? What up? It's Eris at suchabosslady.com, your behind-the-scenes girl on the scenes, and this is an exclusive chit-chat with Mr. Ebro Darden of Hot 97.
Where you from?
So I'm from St. Louis. I've been in New York for a year now.
Okay, and you came to New York, why?
To follow my dreams, as every young individual does.
And what is your dream?
Seriously, I came to New York to follow my dreams. I began interning at Def Jam in 2011.
Okay.
So I interned in marketing. I loved it. It was the best experience of my life. So I went back home to St. Louis. And then in that year, that time span, that was my senior year of college, I started the website, suchabosslady.com, because I felt like I was not connected to the industry. I felt like I loved it. There were so many things going on. And from a perspective of being back in school, which is in Columbia, Missouri, and Mizzou, you wasn't finna get that. But everything that I learned and I saw, I wanted to keep that. So I started my website. I started reaching out to producers and artists.
Creating relationships, networking.
Exactly. And so it was something that, I was doing just because I missed New York. I just missed being in the mix of things. So it was something that I just started I piggybacked off my nickname in college, which was Boss Lady. And so
Why'd they call you Boss Lady?
Oh my gosh, we were always doing events. We had parties in college, and people would call me Boss Lady because I was always running around. I was
the leader
always
of the pack.
Exactly.
Making
I was
sure everybody was where they needed
DJing.
to
I was
be.
hosting.
Okay, all right.
I was kind of money at the end of the night. We were just trying to figure it all out.
You went to Mizzou, but you're from the area also.
Now, Mizzou is in Columbia, Missouri, and St. Louis is where we're actually from, which is like an hour and a half away. So, I mean.
But it's all.
Yeah.
It's all. Once you out here in New York, everybody's rooting for you anyway, whether they're from Columbia or from.
They from Kansas City, Missouri. They from some little piece of grass on the side of the highway, Missouri.
Whatever.
Yeah.
They rooting for y'all.
So today I came to you, Mr. Ebro, because I'm always seeing you everywhere, and I kind of want to know your journey. I know a lot of people see you. A lot of people from New York may know who you are, but a lot of people from St. Louis may see the face and may see the beard, and they're just trying to know what's up. So I'm trying to let them know who Ebro really is.
Okay.
So, can you kind of tell me when you first fell in love with music?
Oh, it had to be 78, 79, somewhere in that zone. I think my first recollection of music was my father playing 8 tracks in the Fleetwood Brougham Cadillac in Oakland, California. Baby blue Fleetwood with the baby blue crushed velvet interior. You know what I'm saying? He used to play George Duke, Dookie Stick, and Parliament, Funkadelic, and all of that stuff. So I kind of came up on that. And then I'm 4 years old at the time, so 78, I'm 4 years old, 79. And then, then it was New Edition, Popcorn Love, and Rapper's Delight, and Poppin' and Breakin', and the music that came with that era as well, which was, a lot of the early stuff like Chic and Shaka Khan, and some of the music that went along with that. Parents was playing Stevie Wonder. You had the early kind of electronic stuff of the Bambatas and things like that as you got off into the 80s. And then you got into the, the Run DMC era and the rock rap collabo eras of the early 80s with the Beastie Boys, Run DMC. But, so I was early in the hip hop stuff. And it was just, I was raised in a Pentecostal church. So I went to Hebrew school. My mother's Jewish. My father's black. So I was in both worlds. So soul music and gospel music and, all that was just a part of everything that I was doing. So, that's kind of how music started for me. And then, it was just, I think also hip hop for me was, coming up in the 80s, living on the West Coast, you had Too Short and you had some of the independent music that was being made out there. It was hearing people who were going through similar experiences to you that you were going through, and being able to talk about it fairly graphically in music was kind of how I fell in love with hip hop in the 80s.
So what were you like as a child, though? You grew up around all this music, but outside that, what were you doing? What did you look like? Was you hip?
I was mostly playing sports.
Okay.
Soccer, basketball, baseball. I think I was chubby 5th and 6th grade. I was kind of a fat kid, but then I was fast and athletic. I was the fastest kid in school. But I went through a lot. My father was in and out of jail. So my father was in jail when I was born and then came home a little bit later. And then went back to jail. And you know, my father used to put his hands on my mom. My mom left, took us to another part of Northern California. And it was like, you know, I was a missing kid, like on the milk cart and the whole thing.
Don't talk to me. You were not.
Yeah, and then they found me with my mom, and you know, the FBI agents came to the school, the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I did that whole thing. Then went back and was in foster care for like a week and change as they like went through the whole custody thing. And because my dad was a felon, you know, the whole custody thing was a little bit different. Went back and lived in the Bay Area for a little while with my dad, as you know, because my mom obviously got in trouble for kidnapping at the time. And then my dad ended up getting locked up again while I was staying with my dad. So then, and you know, I had family out there. My grandmother owned a dry cleaners in Albany, which is right outside of Berkeley and Oakland. So, and then I had some other family members that was, you know, slanging back then. A lot of those dudes went to jail. There was a big raid in like 86, 87. A lot of the men in my family was getting money. So a lot of them went to jail. My father went to jail. And so then I went back and stayed with my mom again. So the 80s for me was music, but it was a little bit of back and forth with my mom and dad, and then in the Bay Area. And there's a city outside the Bay, Sacramento, which is northern of the Bay, where my mom ended up. So, and that's like an hour and a half between each other. So I would be back and forth on that strip a lot. And then, you know, I started, me and my brother started making like mixtapes. I have an older brother who has a different dad. He's white. Okay. So my brother's like 5 years older than me. And we started making like tapes and giving them away at school. And then I started DJing parties because I was like collecting music and had my little pop crew. Me and my homeboys used to pop and all that. So I was a regular kid, you know what I'm saying? And I had a flat top, and we was, you know what I'm saying? We started our little R&B group, was singing and rapping. We thought we was New Edition or BBD and all of that. You know, I was on that page. I was never.
How did you channel all of that into getting focused and to do like really doing radio?
It was never a plan. I was in high school and I worked in the mall. I started working in the mall when I was 15. And I was a stock boy at the little stores. So they had, back in the day, you know, they had, you know, now they have, I don't know what the cool stores in the mall are, but I don't know. Where the guys go get clothes or whatever, and the girls go get clothes. But they had two stores. One was Oak Tree and one was called Merry Go Round. And I was a stock boy at both stores. So the DJs, you know, and the you know, the drug dealers and whomever, all the fly girls would all come to these stores to get gear. So everybody wanted to know me because I knew when I was unloading the boxes.
You get them to hook up.
Right. Or I get them to hook up, right? So, or I could put something aside, you know, just like now you go to the store and you know somebody in there and the manager.
Tomorrow, let me get them early. Put them on the side. Get
Exactly.
You extra $50.
Exactly.
Right.
All that. So that was me, and that's how I met the DJs. And then when I was 15, I got an internship I got a job.
Okay.
At the local radio station, because one of the DJs used to come by clothes, and I asked him about same thing you asked, how you get in radio. He was like, "Yo, you should call this girl." Well, they had back in the day when radio stations were privately owned. We still do research now, how we research music. Like you hire a telemarketing company, and they'll call households, play them hooks of songs, and people rate the music based on what stations they listen to, whatever. So I literally got a job doing that. That was my first job at the radio station, was calling. You had to call like 100 phone numbers a day, you know, figure out and get people to respond, blah, blah, blah. The only reason I got the job was because I used to try to holler at this one girl whose friend actually was the assistant of the girl that ran the department. So when I called, the girl that was the assistant was like, "Yeah, I know him. He's cool." Because they said my voice was too deep. And they said that, you know, you can't really do telemarketing with a deep voice because ain't nobody gonna stay on the phone with you. So I used to like try to raise my voice a little higher so that people would stay so I had a job. So that was like a little hourly job that I had. And then I found out at my school they would let me, because I was, you know, I played sports. So I was pretty big in the football world, and I was it was off season, so I found out I could get credit because I had a pretty good GPA. Like I was a 3.5 student. And I found out because I was a 3.5 student going out of my sophomore year, going to my junior year, they would allow me to leave school at like noon, 1 o'clock, and go get the program. Right. So I would get credits for going to work basically because they also had a radio station at my high school in Sacramento, California. Dope. But I never worked at that radio station before, so I just kind of manipulated the situation, and I guess it wasn't manipulation. I was doing it right, so I got credit, and I went to start working at the radio station, and then that working in that department. Then after I would do the research job, I would stay and then answer phones for the night guy, which ended up resulting in me actually getting put on the radio because I was the dude in the room, and they would be like, yo, Ebro, we need you to get these calls or whatever. So that resulted into me kind of developing a personality and being a part of a show.
So and then did you have a radio name? I mean, even though you
I was always just Ebro.
You were Ebro.
Yeah,
okay.
I was Ebro in high school. I've been Ebro since I was 6 months old.
And that's your straight up name, Ebro.
No, my government name is Ibrahim.
Oh, Ibrahim.
So my uncle made that up when I was a kid.
But it's like a play off Abraham. But it's like Ibrahim.
It is the same thing.
That's dope.
But it's the Arabic Hebrew version of it. So it's the same person.
That's what's up. It got a cool name. Like, once you start knowing the meaning of people's names.
Yeah, nah. Names are important, man. People don't realize how important a name is. It leads you to different discovery about yourself and things like that. But nonetheless, that blossomed into me being on the radio and taking that. And I never had a plan for that. I was just a kid who liked hip hop. I was never that kid that was trying to be like the bling bling kid or act like I was in a gang or be down with a crew or out here fighting or.
So I mean, and since you were that type of kid, after you
I was a
high
nerd.
School, did you do college? And
I went to school. I actually went to I went to college. I went to most of my time at Sac State University, Cal State University of Sacramento, and but I stopped. Because I was already in a career, and I wasn't going to school for that career. I went to school for sociology and anthropology. That was what I wanted my major to be.
Do you ever look at it like, I wish I would have did that, or how do you look at it? I mean, you have a dope career though, you know what I'm saying? But is there ever a moment where you're like, I wonder if I would have? There's
been times in my professional career where you have to jump through extra hoops and a little bit more obstacles when you don't have that college degree, because they question your commitment. And I can speak both languages, whether it be corporate or whether it be, hood or whatever you want to call it.
So finding your way in radio, you were there in Sacramento. Then I know you did some things in Oregon. Now, what was that you?
I started in 1997. A lady in Sacramento, California, started a independent radio station, and I was seen in that town as like the hip hop dude, if you will. I had the big night show, I had the big hip hop show. I was breaking local acts. Me and my crew, we was doing all the big parties, all the hip hop concerts that came through. Crew was called Conscious Vibes. They're still active in Northern California now, and we was always on some, consciousness stuff. You know what I'm saying? I mean, hip hop was hip hop, and everybody likes gangster rap, but we just never was about promoting that. You know what I mean? So, the lady, I actually approached her because it was a black-owned radio station. It was the first one in town, and I approached her with a marketing plan. I didn't want to work for her station because I didn't think they could afford me at the time, but because it was a black station, and I worked for like the top 40 station, I went to her with a marketing plan of how, I could help her get the word out about her radio station, not thinking that it would be actually a competitor to the top 40 that I worked on, because it was playing gospel music, it was more community driven, all that. So I wanted to just help her get the word out, and maybe do events for her, whatever. And when I sat down with her, she was like, nah, we want to be a hip hop R&B radio station.
So this was kind of like bringing in something new for her.
Right. She hadn't launched into this hip hop format yet. So she was like, I actually would like to, aren't you the guy that works over there? I was told I would need to come talk to you to come work over here.
Well, look at
and
that.
I was like, yeah, well, I don't know if you could afford all that, but I'm willing to help out. She was like, I'll pay you whatever you making right now, plus you the program director and you do the whole thing. So yeah, so then
Can we just stay there for a second? Because that's absolutely amazing. Like, you went in there with no expectations at all. Like, you just went.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
But, I think it's also, at the time, 1997, 3, 4, I was 22 at the time, 23. I think it was, it's a lot of it is about positivity. But I think, that word positivity is kind of thrown around a lot to where it becomes cliche and it doesn't really mean anything. Like, what does that mean? How do I go about doing that other than just being happy every day? And that's not really what it is, because I'm actually cursing and spitting and ready to go to war every day, and you know what I mean, and take somebody's fucking head off if that's what we doing.
Right.
But figuratively speaking. But I think what it really comes down to when that is, are you someone that people want to work with? Mm-hmm. Are you reliable, right? Are you a person of your word? Are you professional? Are you do you take your craft serious? In the sense of where people who do it professionally will look at you and say, nah, I may not agree with whatever about this person, but they respect the craft of whatever it is that they're doing.
How did you make that transition into the New York market? It's like one of the hardest markets for everything, if you ask me. I feel like it's tough, like radio here. This is hip-hop, this is real, this is raw, this is in your face. It's so much, it's crazy. No, you know what I'm saying? Like, so people that, it's like in New York, you hear it first here. You break records here first.
Yeah, to a degree. I think it's relative. I think it's relative to the market. Like, people who live in New York take New York radio for granted. Mm-hmm. People who are from other areas be like, yo, y'all radio station's popping. So it's relative to the environment, right? I think before I got I'm 38, which is why they call me the old man, right?
I was going to ask, why is that your name?
Well, because I've been doing this 23 years, right? So once again, relative to other people who are in it, I'm an old man, right? So a lot of times I speak about things in a way that make people feel like I'm too far removed from where they are today. Mm-hmm. So in kind of an old man way of. That's why people be like, "Yo, how come y'all playing this music and they ain't playing that music?" Well, that's the music that gets ratings, and so we could sell advertising, right? Mm-hmm. So while I may like it, I may not like it, right? That's the means to run this business, right? We're not, and sometimes the radio station and the music business are in parallel, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they intersect, sometimes they're in parallel, sometimes they're going in completely different directions, right? You could, what's the interest of the record label may not be the interest of the radio station.
And when you are doing it and you're talking to the people over a mix show and different things like that from the label, how does that work when they get over to you all? You know what I'm saying? Like, they give you...
We decide, when we're curating Hot 97, or any program director is really like a curator of a museum, right? The sound of your radio station is should be in sync with what your target audience is. So every radio station's target is different. And now by target, that's age demographic, ethnic demographic, and even down to gender. Some radio stations are only interested in attracting women between a certain age and a certain ethnicity. Some radio stations, it's men. And when you listen to that radio station, you can tell by what they talk about and the content of the music who they're trying to attract. And the reason they're trying to attract that audience is because based on whatever their business model is as a corporation, to attract that audience helps them get dollars from advertisers who also share those interests, right? So just by saying, oh, this radio station plays hip-hop, that doesn't mean it's targeted to everybody. It might only be targeted to men. It might only be targeted to women. It might be targeted to both. It might only be targeted to black and Hispanic. It might be only targeted to Hispanic. It's all based on advertising dollars and who's going to get them the most advertising.
So why do you think Hot 97 is, recognized as the #1 hip hop station? Why?
I think one, because it's true according to Arbitron, which gives us our ratings. And two, because I think it's cultural significance. I think we spent a lot of time in hip hop understanding why the music is important, and then the kind of cultural nuances after the music, whether that's the club, the materialism, the clothes, the anger, the cynicism, even the debate, right? We're not afraid to have hip-hop debate, whether that be a lyrical debate, whether that be a production debate, whether that be a reflective debate on where we are in the state of hip-hop, because hip-hop goes through cycles of, like right now we're in kind of like a backpacker underground cycle, kind of similar to where we were in the mid-'90s, where it's about lyrics and content. And then sometimes we shift out of that into more gangster imagery and tough guy talk, and we shift out of that into some materialism and which are all aspects of the worlds we all come from when we fall in love with the music, and also a reflection of who we are as fans of the music, right? But I think we can have those conversations, whether it be in a humorous way or in a serious way. As a DJ, which is an aspect that people forget, as a DJ, it's not about what you like.
Definitely is not. Right?
It's about what the people like. And in there, you're going to say, okay, well, if people like this, then they might like this. And if people like this, they might like this. And in there, you might go, well, I remember when people used to like this, and here's a new song that sounded like this. Do y'all like this one? Mm-hmm. To try to shift the kind of the palette of the audience a little. Like, you can't just get on a record and act like you super tough to me. Like, people try to reference NWA as the quintessential gangster rap group, mm-hmm. right? But when you listen to the words that they're saying, they're talking about shit that made them angry. They're talking about shit that hurt their feelings. They're talking about shit that they're afraid of. They're talking about, it was a deeper perspective on of being a young, angry black man in the hood, right? It wasn't just shoot 'em up, bang. The whole Straight Outta Compton album wasn't just Straight Outta Compton, right? There was a lot more to it than that, mm-hmm. right? Even on Fuck the Police, yeah, they were saying fuck the police, but in the verses, you hear them talking about being stereotyped.
Yeah, they explain why
they feel that way. So now you have cats come along and all really like even French Montana's record. What's the record? Ain't Worried About Nothing. No, everything in that song should be something you should be worried about. Right. You're riding around with drugs. You should be worried.
Right? That's problematic.
You should be concerned. You're riding around with a gun. Why do you have, that doesn't make you unhappy that you feel the need that you have to ride around with something to kill someone? Like, that doesn't strike you as problematic in your life, that's the life that you live? That's why they think
they're not worried.
No, but that's why a Kendrick Lamar does so well, because he gives you that vulnerability. Mm-hmm. That's why a Drake does so well, because he gives you vulnerability. That's why Kanye's so successful. That's why Hove is so successful. That's why we loved Outkast. The things that are great mm-hmm. give you something beyond this facade of I'm super macho and I could take over the world and I have money and we do drugs and we... Right? It gives you something. Yeah, we want to do, those are our aspirations, and yeah, we want to live like kings, but why is it that this materialism is so important to us? Why is it that having multiple women out of wedlock or multiple baby mothers out of wedlock somehow makes me feel accomplished? Why is that a part of how we psychologically go about being who we are? So I think when hip-hop gets back to those conversations in a real way, if you notice, those artists are successful. Mm-hmm. Right? And then you complement that with real music and real perspective and great imagery and art and other things. Those are the things that are great. So I'm going to gravitate to the new Kanye album and say that it saved hip-hop because it was scary and it was dark and he sounded confused and like, where's this dude coming from? And he sounded angry and he's talking about materialism. Meanwhile, he's materialistic, which has always been kind of the paradox of a Kanye West, right? Where he would talk about like how idiotic it is that I want diamonds, but kids are dying in Sierra Leone over diamonds, and then that paradox.
So do you think that these rappers they're supposed to have this responsibility?
I don't think they're supposed to have any responsibility. Okay. The responsibility is on us as the consumer to purchase the things that we feel represent us. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes the audience does purchase the right shit. Right? I think that, a Kanye West album, a Drake album, a J. Cole album, a Hove album, those are great representations of hip hop. Mm-hmm. And those are cats with perspective and lyrics and music that matter. You see a lot of these albums from these Versace type niggas, they don't sell. The single sells. It gets a lot of play because everybody's in the club, but they don't sell. Those don't sell albums. If you notice in hip-hop, the shit that sells albums, it has depth to it. J. Cole sold a lot of records. He has depth. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I believe it's kind of I believe it's just hype mm-hmm. when people are angry with hip-hop for not being deep enough. You know what I'm saying? Because I think the music is there. And I think the lyrics are there. And I think the artists are there too. But, I think we just need balance.
How do you balance your personal life with this, or does it like intermix and that is your person? You know what I'm saying? Like,
nah, my personal life is out of whack because I'm in this, right? So I think because I've committed myself to a life that is me getting on the radio talking shit or getting overly consumed with clubs and trying to have sex with multiple women and shit. I don't have a wife and kids
but that is your life though. That's like straight up your life.
That is my life.
Stop. Like, this is who you are.
All the time, every day.
All the time. So do you feel like it's time? Do you feel like you want a wife and kids?
I feel like I do, but I feel like I don't want to rush it though. You know what I'm saying? I don't want, my biggest fear is being, you know, like I see some of my friends.
What is dating like? And I feel like when you're in hip hop, you get these same type of chicks. And it's like
always
dress up type of girl.
I mean,
and
some people like that.
You know, but
I don't
there
like
are other
that.
different women too. You know, there are real women out here that know how to respect themselves and things like that. But I mean,
there's in
this
every
image that's
industry
coming right now is just like it's crazy.
Listen, there's always been whores and sluts.
No, but it's
That's
like
not
now
true.
they just
No. The only reason,
now they out here exposed. They wasn't like that back in the day.
Right, because you didn't see them on Instagram and on Twitter. They was, trust me, take it from an old nigga. It's been whores and sluts forever. It's not a new phenomenon.
They proud right now.
Yeah, because they get extra likes on their Instagram. I don't know. I haven't really sat back to evaluate whether or not it was the best thing I did in my life, but it would have to be. I mean, as far as when I came here, in late 02, I came here under the guise of this could go any which way. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be successful or I'm gonna fail. I didn't know.
Did you get like a call, or was it something that
it was
out here?
There was a job available.
Okay.
I was working a job. My contract was coming up, and they were looking for somebody with my level of experience to take the job. I actually passed on the job for about a year before actually taking it because I just I had my own kind of network in the Northwest. I had Seattle, Portland, the Bay Area, Sacramento. I was doing parties and all those. I was doing radio in Portland and Sacramento at the same time. I did mornings in one and programmed in another. So I kind of had my own thing. I had my house, you know what I'm saying, but at a certain point you look up like, look, if I'm going to go compete at the highest level, I'm going to do it now before I have children and a wife and all that. So I made that decision. So I think ultimately the decision came down to if I fail, right, because failure has to be always a part of any plan, what will be the result? And the result will be that once you go to New York in media, you could probably still get a job anywhere.
Exactly.
Right. So, the road to success has failures all over it. You know what I mean? So
how do you stay focused even now? I'm pretty sure you have bumps in the road, but how do you stay focused even now?
I think it becomes habit. Focus is a function of habit for me. And I think it is for everyone, where you kind of you start your day with whatever your focus is, and you focus on that thing. And after, they say it takes like 23 days or 21 days to form a habit. You do that shit every day, and it becomes part of your habit, your routine. And you gotta have off days, you gotta have good days and bad days. But whatever you want your focus to be and whatever you're trying to accomplish, make sure you're doing it every day. So it just becomes so it's not really a job, it's a lifestyle at that point. And I think that's when it becomes the most rewarding. Y'all young enough to, the people listening or whomever, I'm assuming y'all young enough to where y'all can still chase your dreams. I have a rule. People run that bullshit where they be like, you're never too old to chase your dreams. Bullshit. Nobody don't want to hear about your motherfucking dreams when you're 35. You know what I'm saying? I'm just telling, especially dudes. Girls is cute.
Don't say that.
Girls is cute. Like, I'm starting to, nigga, you got kids and people to feed at home.
Their dream could be
Nobody
like different.
Wanna hear
They
your
ain't say they
dream.
trying to be no rapper.
Okay, you can dream if
you
have a steady income doing something else.
Okay.
If you ain't got a steady income, nobody want to hear your motherfucking dreams.
These are facts straight from Ebro.
Nobody don't give a fuck about your dream, nigga. Where that motherfucking dinner at and pay this light bill.
I'm done. So the question I want to ask you, because I ask everybody I interview this, why are you a boss? Like, in your own way, what makes you boss? And when you hear the word boss, and you let that resonate in your mind, what connects that with you?
Shit. I mean, I think it comes down to being a boss for me on a daily basis is not only by function and title of what I have to do here, but it's not about telling people what to do. It's about enabling people being a boss is enabling other people to have success. And look, you're going to hire some great people and you're going to hire some not so great people. But like I said, the road to success is mired with tons of failures. You know what I'm saying? So if you're afraid to fail, or you're afraid to leave St. Louis or wherever you are to come and compete at a different level, then you're never going to have what could be true success. In my eyes, success in your eyes might be a great marriage, beautiful children. Success in your eyes might be being able to take care of your parents and move them out of the neighborhood you grew up in into a slightly better one. Because oftentimes we look past the simple things in life, and those little steps are the things that enable the generation after you to become successful, right? So, your parents did well, hopefully, or maybe not, and maybe you just did a little bit better. That's success. You know what I'm saying? And then hopefully your kids will do a little bit better than you. And that's the shit that now, 3-4 generations in, now you guys potentially could have wealth, that kind of planning to where you had maybe you bought an apartment and your kids bought a house, and then, that house, now they got a couple houses, and you sold a house and got some money and was able to start a business. Whatever
That's
your little...
That's what you like, that flipping stuff.
Well, you gotta have a...
You done talk about flipping like 3 times in this interview.
Nah, you gotta flip. You gotta flip.
Yeah, because you buy a house, then you sell that house, then you get some more.
Yeah, nah, you have to, man. That's what I mean, look, we live in America, man. It's a capitalist society where it is about making money. And, oftentimes we, and when I say we, I mean black people and young people, too, of all backgrounds, but low income, we often sitting up talking about what people haven't done for us instead of talking about what we're going to do for ourselves.
Mike will make.
Project Pat. Your boy Juicy J. You'll never be a G. You'll never be a G.
I done sold them ground. Robbing was for cash. I done busted thumper on plenty reserves. Broke down plenty bills. So much clientele. Went to jail with never